So, as many of us are aware, the presidential election took place last night, and Trump won. It's so funny to be so detached from the outcome because I really didn't care either way. In the sense of, going, oh no, Clinton won, oh no, the other person won, as was the case with many of the people I know in real life, and also with TYT. They were losing their minds over this last night. You had Mr. Uger looking as though he was just out of it. He was really just, he was the funniest part of last night. Because, his genuine anger and frustration with a choice that most, a good chunk of people made. It wasn't the popular vote, obviously, as we're learning now, but you know, a sizable number of people said this is who should be our president. And let me explain to you why I don't care that Clinton lost. And actually, I feel that she should have, from the standpoint of a narrative, and kind of elaborating on that. Throughout her entire just political career, she has never lost an office before. She got elected senator twice, and she got appointed to Secretary of State. Yeah, she's had her critiques and criticisms, but no one's ever beat her, essentially. And that was the argument that not relative, it was an associate, there we go, made that, she is hated by Republicans because they're tired of not being able to beat her. Well, she's only won twice, so I don't really know where they'd actually be bugged out by, you know, anything. As far as that's concerned, I always thought Republicans were mainly bothered by her extensive history of just being corrupt and, involvement with these scandals. I don't care if it doesn't pan out to anything like Whitewater or this email investigation, but, you still can't just go around doing things that way. And a lot of Democrats were, really upset about it too. I watched last night, and these people look as though they're about to start crying, and they're so dismayed. And for the life of me, I wish I could connect to them and say, "Hey, it'll be all right," but I can't because they're under this conviction that if Clinton was bad, Trump was worse, and she really wasn't any better, in my opinion. She had problems where he didn't. He had problems where she didn't. But I guess I'm going off topic. I'm trying to bring this back to a point I'm trying to make, which is why she should have lost. She did not connect with black voters as Obama did. Um, and there was this narrative over the course of the last 3 to 4 years, really ever since the 2012 election, that she's going to be the next president. There's nothing you can do about it. She's going to be the next president. She's going to be the next president. Going to be the next president. You cannot so heavily base your view of what someone will be. I mean, it'd be you go back 2004. Obama was a long shot, just getting elected and kind of heading into 2005. He started making a name for himself within those 2 to 3 years in the Senate before he ran. And it's important to note that from the start of things, people were favoring Clinton, and he gradually changed their opinions. It's not this result is people keep trying to compare it to Obama, saying that Sanders was her this election cycle and she is him now. She's not. She wasn't. Obama won. She didn't. But even then, he was able to appeal to minorities and white women and every other demographic that was not white males that put him over the top. Clinton made no such attempt. She just figured that after she beat Sanders, all of his supporters would come over to her, which they didn't. And Johnson, the third party candidate that everybody wrote off, he ended up being the determined I guess I don't want to say determinator because that means something else, But he ended up being the one that determined the results of this election primarily. How do I know? Because he got 3 million votes. If you give those to Clinton, she would have won. So, well, she won the popular vote, but if you give those individually in each state, more often than not, she would have won. And, that's kind of my problem with people sitting here and, trying to say that, um, there were no consequences for the choices she made. There were no consequences for being corrupt. There were no consequences for ignoring the needs of minorities. There were no consequences for, being involved with these scandals. There's no reason for me to believe that she deserved to be my president any more than Trump does, just because she held some offices. I was sitting in this class yesterday, and the instructor, which not all instructors in California are this way. I'm going to tell you that right now because I've had just as many either critique her or not speak highly of her either. Um, they start talking about she's the most qualified to ever run. And, I guess that is kind of true from the perspective of just what positions you've held. But the problem is, in those positions, she didn't do anything of any significance. Look, I am 18. She was got into the Senate when I was 2. And, even though you might say, oh, that's still too young, the point is, I remember as a child vividly hearing nothing about her. And then having to go back as I got a little bit older and look through this stuff. She didn't do anything. The woman did nothing. And then, if you say woman, or they'll say, "Oh, you're sexist." No, I would say, with Trump, the man didn't do this, but that's not sexist. It shouldn't be sexist. Point is, if you bring up any indication of her gender, me saying her is almost a detriment or some sign that I am, you know, against women and trying to oppress them. The evil African American male in Los Angeles trying to oppress Clinton. No, I'm not doing that at all. I am saying that most of what happened to her last night is a direct consequence of what she's not done. She did nothing of any significance in any of those offices that would prompt me to consider her someone I'd actually want in there. It's not, if you go back and look at it, as senator, all she did was vote for a war that nobody wanted and pass some restrictions on, I think, video games and other stuff relating to children. And then Secretary of State, all she did was fly on a plane and give a few speeches and take some pictures, pose for some pictures, sit on a couple of meetings, get, briefed by her aides. That's not hard to do. I could do that. I'm just not old enough, nor have the connections, but I could do that. Probably be better too, because I don't come with all the baggage. It's not hard to even discern this, but I'm making this mainly because I know a lot of blacks in particular that were sitting there last night going, "What? Huh? No way. Yeah way. She lost." And she had this coming from not being in any of these offices useful in any way, and just furthering her goals. At least with Obama, you can say, okay, well, he did that voter outreach thing in Illinois to get more, minority voters and young people to register. He got involved with some act, I can't recall the name of it right now, with another Democratic senator. Um, and he at least tried to have a high profile of just being visible. She didn't do anything. Her only thing of noteworthiness was that she was a woman who held several high profile positions. Progressives didn't like her because she was on Walmart and everything from that, Wall Street and every other just, you know, lack of integrity that she had being involved with it. Um, African Americans didn't turn out for her because they thought she was pandering to them, and she was. Latinos didn't turn out for her because they thought she was pandering to them, and she was. White men didn't turn out for her because they were shamed into believing that if they didn't vote for her because she's a woman, then they're sexist. White women didn't vote for her because they didn't want to vote for somebody just because they're also a woman. They're smart enough to know that's ridiculous. She has no policy that anybody wants. That's what I'm trying to say. And these groups of voters, they were disenfranchised. When all that comes together, you get President Trump.